very aggressive is do this. Take away all this information here. So now you take away this information, take away those wicks, and now what you have at this point is you have a clean candle right over here and right over here. So what you can say now is that this candle that we are currently in will mirror the level all the way down, which would match up with this level right over here. So that's the way. That's how you'd be able to decipher that, is move the rest of the noise away from the charts and look to see that we're going to fill that entire move from the left, but getting rid of all those wicks, if that's what you want to do. If you are concerned about all the wicks that you see to the left, then gold isn't a trade for you right now because of the fact that we can reject at any one of those levels. But if you look at something similar to this idea that I put on the screen, then you know that we could potentially go all the way down to 1917, which is the full body of that previous candle over to the left, and that's the one that you'd be working off of at that point, because you can see there's clean moves and volume pushed all the way right through that bullish candle up. Now we're going to complete on the bearish move down. So it's something to keep in mind if you are trading gold. This idea that I put up on the screen, and this is where a lot of people get trapped. We see that we have these candles starting to push up, and right away a lot of people are saying that we should be taking buys. The rationale behind that is interesting. It does make sense in the smaller time frames to try and take buys because you're looking at this area of liquidity. So this is your what I call a smoking gun, and what that means is that gives you information for later on. If you've been on the stream for the last 2 years, I talked about if you watch a movie, in any type of movie, in the beginning of the movie or beginning of a book, there's something in literature or English studies or language studies that talk about the smoking gun effect. That there's always going to be something in the beginning part of a movie or beginning part of a book that you read or you see that ties the end of the movie or the end of the book together, and you don't necessarily realize that that was important or a pivotal point until the end of the movie. So when we look at this zone that I've mapped out, that's what I call my smoking gun, because essentially what's happened is price at this point has created what we consider a new zone. This area over here is a new zone. So at any given point, price can tap into that new zone and go bullish. But to take a buy, I would want to see this zone break, and you would have to take buys above that level, because all that's happening in this area here is price is coming up to tap to start to potentially move further down. So when you notice this happening, you can now sit and anticipate that, hey, I can start taking positions potentially below this area here once I see a candle wick up and then start to drive down at that point, knowing that we're leaving this zone over here to start to move further down. So keep that in mind. When people are screaming buys because they see rejection over here, we still have a lot of bearish momentum. So to correct this whole move is going to be a lot of work. And also at the same time, I would only want to start taking buys above what I consider this whole area here of liquidity, because at any given time, these candles can flip and we can continue a trend. So it's something to keep in mind as you're trading, that you can map out smaller zones on the smaller time frames, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going into a sell, but like Raja says, we're testing that resistance level to then potentially drop a little bit further later on at the market at that point, a little bit later on today. Yeah. If you go for that wick fill, I can see it coming through. I just look at the structure right now we have on the hourly, and it looks like last week on the daily. Remember last week's daily structure? It just kept rejecting that one level and going up, and then it bounced back again. And then now I look at the hourly structure, and it's doing the exact same thing that the daily did.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm telling you, this is like a breather right here.
See, yeah. So this happened last week on the daily. It's happening right now on the hourly.
I think that's kind of sabotage the stream.
So for this trade, let's do a swap of hat.
Okay. Oh, man.
Come on.